Corlys. The way that Corlys Velaryon was depicted in House of the Dragon is one of the few changes from the show that really rubbed me the wrong way. Even though I'm clearly a fan of Aegon and the Green faction, there are still characters from the Black faction that I really like from the book, and Corlys Velaryon is definitely one of them. I'm not so concerned that they race-swapped his character more than I am about how they've changed fundamental aspects of his personality. I don't think that the writers understood exactly who Corlys Velaryon was in the book, and on the show, this makes his role and impact a lot more diminished than it were in the novel. For example, on the show, Corlys's political ambitions are a lot more downplayed than they were in the book. In House of the Dragon, his decision to support Rhaenyra is emotionally motivated. He sides with her because he genuinely believes in her, and even his wife, Rhaenys, feels the same way. Although he believes that Rhaenyra murdered his children, he is still convinced by Rhaenys to support her, and he seems genuinely moved by her words when she tells him about why they need to stand behind her.
Rhaenyra was complicit in our son's death. That girl destroys everything she touches.
That girl is holding the realm together at present.
Okay.
But this is very different from how Corlys is presented in the novel, because in there, he is not swayed to support Rhaenyra because of his emotions. In Fire and Blood, Corlys is a lot more politically savvy, and George R. Martin presents him as a master strategist. He does support Rhaenyra's cause, but only because of his own ambitions, trying to elevate his house, protect his family's legacy, and extend his political influence as far as he can. His support for Rhaenyra is more of a calculated strategy that he hopes will pay off once she wins the war, and that is why he supports the claims of his grandsons, Jacaerys and Luke, urging them to be betrothed to Baela and Rhaena.
It was ever my husband's will that Driftmark pass through Selenor to his true-born son, Lucerys Velaryon.
Corlys doesn't really have any love or admiration for Rhaenyra. He just sees their relationship as a means to achieve his long-term goals of elevating his house and extending their political influence.
History does not remember blood. It remembers names.
He will do whatever it takes to make sure that they remain in the line of succession, or at least to such a proximity to power that they can have meaningful sway over the political landscape. Even his marriage to Rhaenys feels more like a political arrangement in the book, especially after the introduction of his bastard sons, Adam and Alan. Corlys's affair with the mother of these boys, a woman whom he loved enough to sire not one but 2 children from, does lead to a lot of questions about the nature of his relationship with Rhaenys Targaryen as well. Did he truly love her, as the show would insinuate that he did, or did he only see their relationship as a means to further his political ambitions? In the book, the latter could definitely be the case, as Corlys is a lot savvier and calculating than he is on the show. In House of the Dragon, he is a lot more reactive and sometimes even passive, and this is especially true in Season 2, where he quite literally does nothing for the whole season. He is supposed to be one of the most important characters in the entire Dance of the Dragons, the Sea Snake and the Lord of the Tides, and yet in Season 2 of the show, he seems like a background character who does very little to impact the plot of the story. The fact that he's even depicted that way just shows that the writers didn't truly understand his character from the novel at all. By the time of the Dance of the Dragons, Corlys Velaryon was arguably the most popular person in the entire realm, mostly because of his incredible achievements, remarkable feats that he had accomplished at a very young age, and the impact that he had had on the political sphere up to that point in the realm. He was probably in his early 20s when he made his famous voyages across the known world, going on 9 sea expeditions that led all the way to Yee and Ashai, and amassing an incredible amount of wealth throughout those journeys. This is how he earned the monikers of the Lord of the Tides and the Sea Snake, because of how these adventures made him such a legendary figure in the eyes of the Westerosi. Furthermore, the wealth that he had amassed throughout his voyages, he used to build the cities of Hull and Driftmark, establishing them as important ports for his trade network and bringing about prosperity and abundance for his people. He also used his wealth to build a powerful naval fleet, and with that military power, he aligned himself with the Targaryens and strongly tried to support his wife Rhaenys' claim for the Iron Throne. Even though she ultimately lost, Corlys was still given a seat on the small council, and he was always respected as a self-made man who championed his family's legacy. The point is, Corlys Velaryon should have been depicted as being a lot more ambitious and savvy than he was on the show. That is the main characteristic that drives his decisions and that lands him in such interesting situations throughout the story. The fact that Corlys supports Rhaenyra's claim is therefore very important from a political point of view, not just because he is such a powerful military ally for her to have on her side, but also because he is a legendary and iconic figure who lends so much credibility to her cause. There's no doubt that many of her allies would have decided to support her cause once they learned that he was standing by her side. And I think that the show should have done a better job of depicting that, because I don't think that a lot of the audience understands it. Rather, they've simplified many of Corlys's complex political motivations and made him less iconic and more passive as a character than he was described in the novel. In my opinion, this is a result of a lack of an understanding of who the character was in the novel to begin with, and this is why Corlys Velaryon ultimately feels a lot less compelling and impactful on the overall plot of the narrative than he should be. It's actually so unfortunate because Corlys Velaryon is one of the main characters of this entire story, and the show has now chosen to deliberately make him a black character. They created an opportunity in which they could have made a black actor an important lead in the story, depicting him as a cunning and self-made man who successfully climbs his way to the highest rungs of the political ladder and who is incredibly able and determined to further his family's legacy and influence over the land of Westeros. Corlys Velaryon could have been one of the most iconic characters of this entire franchise if the writers knew how to approach his portrayal. But they didn't, and so he's not. Unfortunately, in House of the Dragon, Corlys Velaryon feels more like an afterthought in the narrative, and he doesn't really do much to impact the story in any meaningful way so far. Instead of being the iconic and legendary Lord of the Tides that he should have been portrayed as, he just feels like a diminished, unremarkable, and underdeveloped side character in his own story. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts about Corlys Velaryon down below in the comment section. And if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content in the future. Thanks for watching. Peace.